Hey, this is the Rig on Wheels show, the first ever truck driver recruitment show featuring MVT, and I am your host, Kameel Gaines, the CEO and founder of Rig on Wheels. And of course, we have our favorite VP of recruitment over there at Mesilla Valley Transportation. So it's Robert Pierson. Hey, Robert.
Doing well. Glad to be on with you here and looking forward to another episode of Rig on Wheels here. A lot to discuss and we got a lot going on.
Definitely do. So this is your ultimate destination over here at the Rig on Wheels show. We have industry insights, hot jobs, news, of course, a lot of news, driver tips, and recruitment tips. So let's go ahead and make history together.
Absolutely. Where do you want to start?
Well, definitely what we got going on here, because it is the Sexual Assault Awareness Month. I wanted to bring up the fact that we can definitely stop human trafficking. So we got a spiel here that I want to go ahead and read from the FMCSA. It's Your Roads, Their Freedom campaign seeks to raise awareness of human trafficking in the commercial motor vehicle industry. This effort aims to educate and empower commercial motor vehicle drivers, or truck drivers, and other transportation industry employees to recognize the signs of human trafficking and report the crime to authorities. So human trafficking is a crime that involves the use of force, fraud, and coercion to obtain labor or commercial sex act. All commercial sex involving a minor is illegal and is considered human trafficking, regardless of the use of force, fraud, or coercion. So of course, you can stop human trafficking, in the number, if you can throw it back up there for us one more time, Kayla, thanks. So the number for National Human Trafficking Hotline is 800-373-7888. And of course, you can text 233-733 or be free. So thank you so much, Kayla, for that. So let's jump right into our news here. So what do you want to start at?
Well, I figured we're in the same place you'd want to start. Fuel took a rise of about 6.5 cents a gallon on diesel, back over the $4 mark at $7.06. Not what you want to see, not the end of the world necessarily, considering where we have been. But it definitely stands out in that reprieve last week where we dropped under 4, got dried up pretty quick. So that's disappointing to see. We've seen, on the flip side of it, though, we have seen rates increase across the board. 6 out of the last 8 weeks for flatbed, rates have increased. Freight on the dry van side is now sitting at about $1.91, which is still a vast difference from this time 2 years ago. But it's much better than it has gotten some of the low points. And all three, dry van, reefer, flatbed, all showing positive signs as we get ready for an uptick this part of the year.
Yeah, so with everything doing an uptick, so it's about planning and adjusting your haul strategy for the upcoming weeks, especially with the fuel ticking up there. So yes, the rates are going up, but the fuel is going up too. So what tactics do you think people should be deploying when it comes to now that the markets are starting to open up? What are you thinking?
Time is money, but going slow. So I will still say fuel is still high by historical averages. So I'd keep your speed in check, anywhere between 63 to 65, 66 in some scenarios. Utilize the wind to your advantage. The big thing right now is you cannot afford to sit. There are going to be cheap loads that you run. So if you're a small carrier, and as an example, you want to wait for a better load the next day, there's a cost to doing that where the next rate will not make up the difference. Big thing on our end is we take some freight that is extremely attractive. We take other loads that are not very attractive to us from a financial standpoint. But in this environment, we have an obligation to our 1,900 plus drivers of keeping them moving and making sure that they still make money. This is the challenge of a trucking company, is it's a bit of a math problem. So when the math doesn't work out, we still have an obligation to our company drivers to make sure that they make money in whatever the environment may be. Now, we are fortunate. We have a good deal of customers that have been with us for decades. So we are not in the same boat as many other carriers. But on the flip side of it, you got to keep moving. So if you're our size or you're a small fleet, you have to keep the wheels turning. There will still be some cheap loads. But the alternative, and that really gets into understanding your business and what you need to make on a daily basis, the alternative of sitting and waiting, you will never catch up on a day-to-day and month-to-month basis.
Yeah, that's true. Time is money. Money is time. So what's the next thing I know you wanted to bring up that's definitely close to your heart? So
I talk about the Veterans Transition to Trucking Act. We got John Tester, he's a Democrat out of Montana, and Bill Cassidy's a Republican out of Louisiana as the co-sponsors of this bill. And essentially, it's trying to make it easier for an individual to transition into an apprenticeship, or just like we talk about when you go to a student program or company, of going to a company and getting your feet wet, hopefully staying at that company and having a long-term career path. I think we've talked a little bit about last week where you had a question from a driver asking about, Swift being a student company, which they do take a lot of students, mind you. But their ultimate goal in doing that is a long-term transition that I know for a fact Swift has drivers that they've had with them 20, 30, in a couple cases, 40 years.
yeah.
But that transition is still difficult for many drivers. In particular, if their MOS or job wasn't an 88 mic, that transition in the trucking industry can be somewhat difficult. The bill looks to fade a lot of that away with access to schooling, the payments for the schooling, having them options to go to on where they want to go to as a first choice. It is something to watch because we still have a large military presence as a lingering effect of both Afghanistan and the Iraq wars. There's still a larger presence of military that now is starting to come to their duties, coming to an end, that are looking for a home. And our industry seems like a really good fit for military personnel. If you can think of an easy transition where you have somebody who has accountability, responsibility, tends to be very goal-oriented and really big on schedules, our industry probably needs those people.
Yeah, 100% needs the 88 mics and all of that. But it's funny that you say this, and a lot of times when we were when I was on the phone actually recruiting the drivers, and you'll have drivers that actually drove in the military, but if their DD-214 did not say 88 mic, it was a very hard transition for them to crack open into the driving world. So I agree with you there. And it's so funny that you say the student program, because I do want to bring this up. And this is something that ATA, the American Transportation Association, actually pushes. And this is another part of diversity that we need in our industry, in my opinion, is drivers that are under 21. However, because of a lot of things, and like any other trade program, they need to, come in and get their footing. And this would be the first of it. So I like to see that the ATA is pushing these diverse drivers. So I picked up this article today from FreightWaves, and it does say that 34% of the applications were rejected. They just weren't ready. Now, mind you, this is just the beginning of it, and it wasn't a lot that were actually even put in. But it was a high rejection rate. It was a rigorous screening process because all the eyes were on them. So it's going to have to be even more of a robust training program for it, because a lot of them were disqualified. But mind you, it's going to be an apprenticeship program. It's going to be great. The Biden administration is really pushing this. The FMCSA seems to be really pushing it as well and being very open. But as of now, despite the significant efforts, and I'm getting this quote, despite the significant efforts and outreach, the recruitment efforts, only a very small number of drivers participated in the under 21 military program. The FMCSA stated there was not enough interest from the intended participants in the operating a commercial vehicle in interstate commerce as a profession to justify it continuing. I hope they actually continue the program. It's new. It is part of diversity. So we need to continue it. What do you feel, Pierson? I know you're shaking your head. Yes.
Yeah,
definitely.
This gets into what we've talked a little bit about on here of we as an industry need to be talking to younger people about this being a viable option. I don't know over the years how many owners of companies that have talked their kids into doing something else. I don't know how many times I've heard drivers, as an example, tell their kids to do something else. We don't do a very good job of taking pride in what we do as an industry. And we are often some of the most cynical people about our own industry, that it hurts us in the long scheme of things.
Yeah.
This is that mindset where you're telling every kid out of high school, you better go to college or you're not going to make it. That is ridiculous, but it's a common theme that, if you look at millennials to Gen Xers, they heard. So the challenge for us as an industry is we have to talk better about what we do for a living. What we do is vitally important in this economy. The economy does not run without truckers. The economy does not run without, quite frankly, the fleet managers and the payroll people. Our industry is extremely valuable, and transportation as an industry makes up about 1 out of every 6 American workers, but you wouldn't know it necessarily. And so the ATA tries to work with it. OOIDA does their part a little bit on a bias towards owner operators, obviously. But we have to do a much better job about talking positively of our industry, because when you say, younger people didn't seem to have an interest, that really starts at the messaging that they get probably long before the program was even thought of. I tell my kids specifically, this is a good line of work. It's not for everybody. It can be somewhat demanding. But if you like seeing the country, as an example, if you enjoy not having an office setting with a boss standing over your shoulder in a suit and tie, if you want to be able to experience life and not necessarily something that a tourist group would get to see, trucking is a fun industry to get into.
Yeah.
And additionally, once you pay your dues in your early year of trucking and you take care of your background as far as tickets, accidents, and performance, at this point, there's really good money in it. But we've gotten in that conversation. We have about 3.8 million jobs that pay more than the average household income as a job itself after about a year in the industry. We're one of those. We just have to talk more positively about it. That's more of an indictment on us.
And my idea, and I just got this idea, I'm borrowing actually this idea from a major company, and it's a major respected company. Look at Pierson, your eyes are shifting. You're like, where's Kameel going with this? It's actually really good. It's really good, and it's positive. I always don't have positivity going, but this is very, very positive. So we always, if you think of UPS, as long as I have been living, if you tell somebody or one of the guys, you say, oh, my son works for UPS, it doesn't matter where he is in UPS. He works for UPS. That's proud as a parent to say your son works for UPS. It's proud as a girlfriend or wife. It doesn't matter. Your son works for UPS. So with saying that, I believe if in order for a lot of these positions, even in behind the desk, different manager positions and things like that, in order for these positions to be had and be promoted into, it needs to be some form of truck driving should be had. There would be more respect.
I absolutely agree with that. I can tell you, one of our strong suits is on the operational floor. Most of our fleet managers, dispatchers, load planners have either had a CDL or actively still have their CDL. And I can tell you, it makes a big difference in that relationship building. I've done your job before. It's a great way to start off the conversation.
But all the way around, I think even in marketing, they need to have had driving experience. Follow me here. I know I might get some bad phone calls. Just follow me here. Just follow me. Just think about it. If you're in marketing or at a trucking company, the niche of trucking, just think about it, is unlike any other industry. So I'm not saying that you have to have years of it, but to know what a fifth wheel is and to have to add that in to a marketing campaign is different than marketing for a dentist.
I think we reach a middle ground. I think the onboarding phase needs to be more driver focused. And I will tell you this. So we all have different skill sets, and we do a thing in MVT where we do personality indexes. I am the last person who should have a CDL. If someone sees me behind the truck, be scared. You need to be very concerned that our industry has gone backwards if I'm behind the truck. With that said, and I would say that because different skill sets, a really good driver, has to have an incredible attention to detail, has to be extremely patient dealing with the crazy four-wheelers on the road, has to be extremely conscious of rules and regulations and policies. And above all else, has to have a long-term mindset to their career and to their job and their day. I think that is a very unique skill set that there's some people, I'm very honest. I am the last person that should be doing that job because it's the exact opposite of who and what I am. With that said, I think that onboarding phase where I'm hiring Jim Bob or Sarah Sue to become in marketing, I think it becomes really important of, hey, before you even pick up your pen for your first day, let's talk about the driver life cycle. Let's talk about their day, what it entails, what we do. Because at the end of the day here, how we make money is our drivers. Our drivers on the road is where that comes from. And if you look at any occupation, if you don't understand where your paycheck comes from, and it's not the rich guy who signs the bottom of your paycheck, that is not necessarily where your money comes from. We all have customers, but in our world, our sole source of revenue generation for money for the business to be profitable and people to get a paycheck literally comes from the driver. So it becomes really important to say, hey, you should understand how your paycheck's compiled. So you need to know the life of a driver. I will tell you, in finance, that helps. In marketing, that knowledge helps. It definitely helps in marketing. In operations, you have to have it. In safety, you have to have it. And I would argue from a legal standpoint, you could have a legal person or you could have someone in human resources. If they don't understand that dynamic, they can't be successful in their role. I would argue that if you find me somebody, especially from a leadership standpoint, that doesn't understand the basic driver life cycle and what their day entails from beginning to end, it's hard for you to really be successful in that role despite what education you have or previous experience.
I guess I do agree with you because first of all, everybody can't drive, right? So, and then legal wise, it might be reasons why they can't have CDLs. So the driver life cycle and things like that, and day in the life of a driver would be good. Yes.
I would say conceptually, and this is one of the things, this is long before CFI got bought out by Conway and then left Conway. So this would have been 1990s CFI. I know everybody that had a VP level or above position had a CDL, and I believe once a year they had to go out for a week and drive truck as part of the general fleet. Now, obviously, their experience would not have been representative of a driver because I assume their dispatcher knew who they were. So I can't say that they didn't get preferential treatment. They probably did. But I will say this, part of CFI's success was built around that mindset back in the 90s. It's one of the things I really liked that they had back in the 90s was, I believe it was my grandfather who at the time ran into who would have been their VP of recruiting, driver recruiting, that was on his week out on the road. And that was a very unique concept at the time. And I promise you, it gave a certain openness to some of the problems drivers would face on the road because they had to physically experience it.
And those are the things I'm talking about. And I know that there are going to be exceptions. It is exceptions to everything. But when you come in with that type of mindset that just about everybody is a driver in some form of fashion at the company, you have a different understanding of the job.
Yeah.
That's why I'm coming with it. And
oh, I couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah, that's really why I'm coming with it. And then you'll have not just a different respect, but even when the different challenges or before a challenge happens, or when you're making decisions, if you've never actually done the job, it's hard to make decisions about a job that you've never done.
Yeah. Yep.
So
now I'm biased. Most of my family's been in trucking all my life, so I'm somewhat biased on that. I admit to that bias. My grandfather would have been an owner-operator 54 years, have a couple uncles doing it. And so I come into it with a certain level of bias, but that bias probably helps you after a while. And if anything, when you bring new people in the industry, you want them to develop that bias. They should have an overriding passion for what they do that gets them excited about what they do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, Kayla, it's time for our first commercial. We'll be right back, guys. Okay, so look at Pierson. Look at that. What you got, Pierson?
Oh, I have the Faces of the Road 2024 from Rig on Wheels. Let me see if I can't get that in frame a little bit better, like I know what I'm doing.
Kayla, can you
my favorite calendar.
Yes, I
What's
can.
That?
Yes, I can.
Oh, I can't hear Pierson. Wait a minute. Maybe that was me, Pierson. I was messing with the speakers. Now, what did you have here?
Faces of the Road 2024 from Rig on Wheels, one of my favorite calendars. Sold at all fine retailers, and if they don't sell this, it's not a fine retailer. This is my favorite calendar. I think it emphasizes the point. You know, I come from a mixed marriage. My wife's black. I'm white, obviously. And so one of the things about this that I like about this with my kids, though, is it shows the difference. There differences in the driver base. There is no stereotypical truck driver. So my kids have ended up loving this and checking it out on a routine basis. I have a few neighbor kids now that are pestering me for a copy of it. So hopefully this one doesn't get stolen. Here, of course, would be April. The graphics on this are fantastic, by the way, Kameel. These look great. And so it's one of those things you're also able to follow Rig on Wheels. Got all the social media presence down here, all the important dates. So as an example, when we get into the safety blitz in May, You can see International Road Check, May 14th through 16th. So it has all the dates that you could possibly need as a truck driver, all the great visuals, all 12 months of the year. And so, Kameel, how would they be able to get a copy of this? Because this is phenomenal.
Well, you can go right to the Rig on Wheels store right now. Actually, head over to the Rig on Wheels store. So go to rigonwheels.com, click on the Rig on Wheels store, and pick up a copy right there. Or you can go to the Etsy account and go to the Rig on Wheels store there as well. And we're setting up the TikTok store as we speak, literally, to get it done just more efficiently for you.
Can't go wrong. Like I said, favorite of my kids. They like this, and I like the quote in the back. Inclusivity is our fuel, diversity is our engine, and unity is our destination. Couldn't have said it any better.
Yes, and then when we ship it to you, it will be in plastic, so it will be very exclusive.
Technically, I got this in plastic, but I couldn't wait to pull it out, so the plastic no longer exists. This is great.
Yes, thanks. You said I couldn't say it better myself there, Pierson.
I feel like I could work for QVC in the very near future.
Yes, that.
The ratings may go down, but I could technically do it.
No, the ratings will go up. Do you know a fun fact? Just a fun fact. Do you know how many synonyms they have to look up for different words so they're not having to use the same word over and over and over?
Oh, yes. No.
Yeah, I had to look at their training. Yeah, I mean, I didn't have to, but I did. Look up their training. So, yeah, totally. So, did you want to go and start talking about the hot jobs? Did you pull up did we tell Kayla the wonderful map? Oh, look at there. Okay.
Let's go to Division 430. We're also going to add a hiring market 430. 430 basically runs, our big account on this is Tesla. And as Tesla continues to move into their major gigafactory out of the Austin, Texas area, we'll move right along with them. So this lane is potential to develop differently over the next year to 2 years. With that said, paying at about $13.50 to $16.50 a week, a fun job sticking to the Southeast U.S. You're going to see a lot of Northern California, of course, with Tesla still having a major part of their operations up in that area. We are actively hiring in El Paso and San Antonio for drivers on this division. We are also opening up hiring to Del Rio, Texas. Del Rio tends to be a spot that will tie into the division quite a bit. So Del Rio, Texas, San Antonio, El Paso, all hiring areas for us for this opportunity, averaging 2,700 to 3,000 miles a week, all no-touch freight, weekly home time. And it's a really nice division in a beautiful part of the country. The nice thing with running the Southeast U.S. is you keep snow to a minimum. There may be potentially Northern California in certain parts may get snow, but we're not going over Donner's Pass or anything like that, or Lake Tahoe, where you're going to see you get dumped on. This is sticking to the Southeast, though, so it's picturesque, it's profitable, and you're busy with weekly home time, primarily running Tesla with a few other automotives accounts, sticking to the borderland area in Northern California. So 230 is definitely open again out of Del Rio, El Paso, and San Antonio.
That's awesome. And that's about 1,500 on average weekly. So that's good.
Yep.
Up to
the other one that we want to talk about, one that we talk about on here routinely because it's staying quite robust for us freight-wise, would be what we call Division 440. That's South Texas Regional going up into basically, if you live in Houston, the version of the Northeast you're going to is basically Tennessee and the Carolinas and coming back. So we're looking for drivers out of Memphis or the Houston area. Again, home weekly. You're going to see pay range around $1,200 to $1,250 a week. Weekly home time. We got great opportunities for teams on this. Teams tend to be making on a per driver basis between $1,500 to $1,800 a week. But we primarily have local or solo drivers on this out of Houston and Memphis. Again, some of the easiest running area that you're ever going to see. Once you leave Houston, you're done with the traffic because you're going to be heading up to Tennessee and North Carolina and then heading back home. Again, weekly home time, $1,200 to $1,250 a week. No touch, no endorsements needed. On this account, on this particular division, about 80% drop and hook. So those wheels will keep turning. Occasionally, you'll see DFW to make your way up into the Southeast U.S. But this is a popular division for us. We have 5 to 6 drivers a week generally join us for Division 440. If you are being hired out of Memphis, you're going to do orientation out of Nashville. And if you're being hired out of Houston, you are most likely going to do your orientation out of Laredo, Texas. So you will not have far to go to get to class, get through orientation, and be making money very quickly after that.
Love it. Awesome sauce. So if any of those divisions, either one of those divisions fit your fancy, go ahead and give us a call at 281-968-3100, 281-968-3100, or go directly to the website at rigonwheels.com and click on driver app, and you'll be able to fill out the Intella app. So go to rigonwheels.com and click on driver app, and it'll fill out the Intella app. And if you're not familiar with that, it'll populate your application and make sure everything is correct. And one of the recruiters will definitely give you a holler and go over everything with you. Keep in mind, MVT definitely has other jobs available. Those happen to be the hot, right off the press jobs for right now. But they definitely have more jobs available. And if those jobs don't work out for you for whatever reason, we have other ones available to you, all the way down to 3 months experience. So we have solo jobs and we have team jobs available. We have more regional and over the road.
I would tell anybody, just because you didn't hear that, if you live in states like Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, almost anywhere in Texas, in Tennessee, in Arkansas, in Kentucky, Florida, call Rig on Wheels here. So if you didn't hear your general market, don't assume. And the nice thing with Rig on Wheels is you have a bunch of other clients. So if you're not a fit at MVT, or MVT doesn't fit what you're looking for, and vice versa, the nice thing is, Kameel, how many clients do you have at any given time? There's a lot of them.
Yeah, just about 40.
Yeah. So the thing is though we talk about a small sliver of the industry, it's worth calling in, because the nice thing with Rig on Wheels is they're going to ask, what do you like? What do you need? What do you want? What have you not found? And based off of that, Kameel is essentially your agent in the process. And so instead of you picking up that 10-pound phone, having to call recruiter after recruiter after recruiter, you can call the team there at Rig on Wheels. And it's great for us as a client of Rig on Wheels, because we get somebody that wants to be here. They ideally have looked at the position and said, hey, this fits what I'm looking for, which generally means they're going to be more successful with us once they start. On the flip side of it, if we're not what you're looking for, it may be that you live someplace else. You have different qualifications or background, or quite frankly, you're just looking for something else. Rig on Wheels has about 40 other options that they can go, let's find what checks off all the boxes for you and you for them, and essentially be a matchmaker.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And like I was saying, we have a lot of regional and over-the-road positions to definitely get you started. And experienced drivers start as little as 3 months experience. So if you have 3 months experience, we typically can go ahead and get you started. So give us a call at 281-968-3100, or go directly to the website at rigonwheels.com and click on the driver application and fill out the Intella app. So we're going to go to another commercial and then come back and start going over questions and answer period for a second. All right, be right back.
Hello, everybody. I'm DeAnthony Davis. I'm a truck driver from Cleveland, Texas. I've been driving for 3.5 years now. I recently saw a podcast with Rig on Wheels on YouTube. I gave them a call. They was fast. They was efficient. They helped me out. I didn't really want to be over the road, so they got me a good regional job. And hey, you should give them a call.
Welcome back. Welcome back. Okay, Kayla, shoot. I know you got some. Look at Pierson. Okay, maybe not shoot. Don't shoot us, Kay. Just tell us some questions.
The first question I have is, are there any contract obligations that I should be aware of when applying for MVT?
No. So, and I understand how that comes into existence, because there's some companies when you attend school that you essentially become an indentured servant and you can't get a trucking company to hire you because of legal reasons. We don't do that. Now, one of the things that we do that's unique is a contractual an offer letter, conditional offer letter. That conditional offer letter holds us accountable more than it holds the driver accountable. The recruiter tells you things on the phone that you often aren't sure, hey, is this plausible, believable? Are they going to live up to these expectations? We do that conditional offer letter because it holds the recruiter accountable. Not that our recruiters wouldn't be forthright and honest about it, but it's essentially in the beginning of the process, the recruiter is going to tell you A, B, C, and D, and then the recruiter is going to sign and send over to you exactly what was talked about. With that said, there's no obligation for you to stay 1 day or 15 years. At the end of the day, we treat every day as though it's the first day, and we have to make a good impression, be it day 1 or 2,380. We need to make sure that we're living up to those obligations. But no, you're not an indentured servant. When you go elsewhere, we're not going to hold up a verification of employment to keep you from running away. There's some tricks out there that some companies do that are shady. We'll call them shady, but no, we do not do that. I'm probably not going to name off those ones, but if you're a driver, you're probably nodding your head going, I've seen that before.
Yeah, I'm naming them in my head.
All right.
Kayla's laughing.
My next question is, how do you keep drivers engaged?
That's just building relationships 101. If you have a relationship, if a dispatcher or fleet manager, as an example, doesn't view the driver as a tool or a resource, but as an individual on the road, that generally is more of a situation of the end product being better. So I hate to oversimplify it, but a lot of companies, especially when you start getting a certain number of drivers, will view the drivers like they view the truck as a resource, as a tool to move freight from point A to point B. It is much more being on that first name basis. Part of that is physically meeting your fleet manager in person to start the relationship. That sounds like a really small step. In most other occupations, it is. Unfortunately, it doesn't happen in this industry enough. Having that eye-on-eye contact and that obligation from day one and multiple times over the course of the year becomes really important. You'll see with most of our divisions that they go through the terminal where their dispatcher is located. So today we talked about Division 230. You're going to go through El Paso and meet Ashley and the team that runs that division. If you're on 440, that's going to go through Laredo, and you're going to meet your dispatcher, and you're going to probably at orientation have that conversation with the dispatcher before you ever get started. The lanes are designed with a couple things. A, to service the customer. B, to run in a specific running lane where we can get back and service said customer and see that we physically get to see each other, that we are literally coworkers that have to lay eyes on each other on a routine basis. That has a major benefit in the long run of keeping that engagement.
And if I can point this out, if you could talk about safety due to the fact of I call it loop, you call it triangle, but definitely due to the fact of the loop. So it's the safety when it comes to the female drivers, period, but it's a big deal about female drivers' safety. So knowing their routes, the pre-planned routes, and MVT is really a stickler on that. So if you can kind of talk about that.
Yeah,
greatly.
We generally want our drivers whenever possible. And we have a good working relationship with Love's Truck Stops, and they do a great job for us. But we prefer our drivers to be able to park in a secured lot that we have or at one of our terminals. So if you don't live in El Paso, Laredo, Nashville, or Denver, it's still going to be in one of those loops. We want you to have access to showers. We want you to have access to a number of amenities, including laundry. But the biggest part is from a safety standpoint. We get eyes on the equipment, and you're in an area that you can be comfortable where you don't have to worry about your belongings or your vehicle, or in the case of the truck, your safety while you're in the truck. That should be the last thing that you need to worry about. And so that's where our running lanes has a major advantage of keeping you safe on the road. That's not to say every truck stop's dangerous. That's not to say that we're going to areas that the customers are in bad spots. But life's hard and things happen on the way. And you go through areas, wrong place, wrong time, no fault of your own, and now you're in danger. We prefer from a business standpoint to minimize it. It's in our best interest to keep you safe, productive, and staying with us. And so that really comes down to just like me. They want me to be safe in my own office here, despite the guy looking over my shoulder here. We want you to be safe on the road as well.
All right. Awesome.
Well, man, speaking of the guy looking over your shoulder, I know Josue drew that, and I know he's supposed to be you. However, that looks like a robber.
It does. It does. This looks like something you would have seen on Unsolved Mysteries, where they're trying to describe somebody that did something atrocious. So we're gonna, even if we have to put a medal around his neck or something to specify that this guy's not going to rob you.
Yes. And make it a medal. Don't make it a Cuban chain, because that's not going to work either. So we're going to talk to Josue about this. He needs to
don't encourage him, because you'll see 5 or 6 more different characters up here in about a week.
Yeah, it's. I'm like, what is happening there? But I love MVT. Okay, now what's the next question?
The next question is, what fleet management system does MVT use?
The thing that we use is called Manhattan. Manhattan basically allows us to put the right driver with the right load at the right time. A lot of times there's always confusions where you're sitting at a shipper and all of a sudden you see somebody roll in before you and you're sitting there going, but I was first. There's more complexity than that. You may not be going in the same direction. You may have different freight going in completely opposite directions. And I know, though, as a driver standpoint, when you sit at a shipper and you see your own trucks come in and leave before you, you're sitting there going, what gives? With that said, it's the Manhattan. It really uses a number of algorithms in place to make sure that we're sticking people on there. The big thing with us, though, is the majority, 70% of what we do is drop and hook. So we don't really run into that scenario very often where you'll see a truck come in from your same company and leave before you. Just because of the volume of drop and hook that we do, that's somewhat rare. But specific to your question, it's called Manhattan, and it takes into account where you're going, who's had the last load. For all you know, somebody may be sitting at a truck stop literally down the street from the shipper that's been waiting on a load. But we try to avoid the waiting altogether. That is where the drop and hook matters more than the operating system.
Okay, good. Any other questions that you have, Kayla? That was a good question. I wasn't ready for that.
Yes.
It's one that I will say this. More drivers should ask. Because if you go to a company that does a lot of live loads, in theory, in that scenario, you need first in, first out. Because if you're on irregular routes, there is no pre-planned of 2 to 3 loads like we have. That is a question that probably should get asked a lot more, that most drivers don't ask and don't find out about it until their first month of employment. So that's where you ask, is it dedicated? Is it an engineered lane like we are? Or are we doing a lot of live loads? Live loads by themselves aren't necessarily bad, but the next question should be, let's talk about your operating system. How do you determine who gets the next load?
Oh, wow. Yeah, you just taught me something. That was heavy, wasn't it, Kayla?
It's a very smart question that does not get asked a lot, and it probably should be.
All right, then.
That's why you make the big bucks.
No, pesos, the same thing.
My last question is, I guess it could be for both of you. Do you have flatbed opportunities?
So I'll let Kameel answer on her end. On our end, we don't. We strictly do dry van, no touch, no endorsements required. Our specialty is moving your product as efficiently as humanly possible. We have great professionals on the road that do it. And that's what we're going to stick to in the very near future. We are not leaving the world of dry van. We have an established customer base that works for that. On the flip side, like I said earlier, if we don't have what you're looking for, the nice thing with going through Rig on Wheels is you don't have to call 40 other people to find that out. You can make one call to Kameel.
And with that one call, no. But yes, literally, we do have several companies that have flatbed and heavy haul. So not a problem. If you're a flatbed guy, let's definitely do that. If you're a flatbed that doesn't like strapping, we have that. We have heavy haul, especially in the Midwest, in the funny Illinois, not Minnesota, but Illinois, Missouri type areas. We have that as well. And we have all of the hazmat type loads or trucking companies as well. So just give us a call.
That's all I have for right now.
Perfect. So what I want to do is, what is the guy's name, the tall human that explains the truck so well, Pierson?
That would be good old Joe.
Joe. So let's go to the commercial with Joe so he can explain the truck, and we can come back, have Pierson wrap it up about the Blue Beast, and that will be great.
At Mesilla Valley Transportation, every driver is behind the wheel of a late model International LT, a truck that takes comfort, convenience, and safety to a whole new level. Join us as we explore the impressive features of this powerhouse on wheels. The open road is full of surprises, and sometimes that includes unexpected encounters with wildlife. But worry not, the International LT has you covered. The front end protection guard offers an extra layer of defense, protecting you from animal strikes. Drive with confidence, knowing that you're shielded from the unexpected. We all know how important it is to keep our batteries charged, and our International LTs have your back. The Cummins X15 is equipped with an auto start feature, ensuring that your batteries are automatically recharged when they run low on volts. It's a seamless process that keeps you powered up and ready to hit the road. Disc brakes and an engine brake provide reliable and safe stopping power when you need it most. You can have peace of mind knowing that you're in control. Safety is at the forefront of what we do. Our International LTs are equipped with top-of-the-line safety features to ensure your well-being while out on the road. These tractors are equipped with Bendix fusion protection, collision mitigation, and lane departure warning. Achieving good fuel efficiency deserves recognition. With the International LT, your efforts don't go unnoticed. When you consistently achieve impressive miles per gallon, the International LT rewards you with increased speed. It's a little extra motivation to keep you pushing for better fuel economy. After a long drive, you're ready for a well-deserved break. With the International LT, you can enjoy your rest period in absolute comfort. Thanks to its auxiliary power unit, you can keep the driver's cabin heated or cooled just the way you like it. No matter the weather outside, you'll always find your sweet spot within our International LTs. The International LT understands that comfort extends beyond driving. It's a space where you can truly feel at home. I'm a big guy, and I have room to move around in here. With plenty of room to spare, the International LT accommodates even the tallest drivers. And there's ample storage for all your clothes, cooking essentials, and tools, making life on the road even more convenient. Speaking of cooking, bring along your appliances and don't sacrifice any luxuries thanks to all of our International LTs being equipped with built-in inverters. Dry your hair, make a smoothie, or play a game, all from the comfort of your truck. We take pride in our well-maintained fleet. And if by chance you do come across something wrong on your truck, you're never far from help thanks to our valuable relationship with Penske. With more than 750 brick and mortar Penske shops nationwide, their expert team is always ready to assist you. From routine maintenance to unexpected repairs, they'll get you taken care of and back on the road in no time. And there you have it. Just a few things about this late model International LT that make MVT the place to be.
Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. Yeah, Joe does a good job, and I'm always impressed about the amount of space in the truck. And I know it's because it is made for a team, not just solo. So it is really a nice amount. And then the fact that you're able to cook in the truck is really, really good. So I love it. What were you about to say, Pierson?
Yeah, Joe at 6'5" has no problem moving around in that vehicle. Again, we've talked about it before too. The 56-inch sleeper berth is the normal model for a solo driver running a regional. This is a 71-inch sleeper berth, and if you don't think that makes a difference, you got to get into the truck and try it yourself. You can move around. You have plenty of storage space, so anything you could possibly store. And the nice thing with the APU units is you can live your life. You can have. I've seen people with big screen TVs in their truck, refrigerators, gaming systems, blenders, little stoves. We want you to be comfortable on the road, even though our drivers are not out for weeks at a time. Our trucks are set up as though you're an OTR driver staying out 3-4 weeks. We have none of our drivers that do that, but that comfort from home, I don't care if you're away from home 2 to 3 days or you're away 7-8 days. You want to feel comfortable. When you're off duty, you want that time to be calming and relaxing. It's hard to do that when you get claustrophobic because it feels like you're in a coffin. So our big thing is to have you in a spacious truck with plenty of amenities, and the Blue Beast does that. Additionally, that piece of equipment is what helps you do a better job out on the road. You're able to be awake when it's time because you got a full night's sleep. And then we go into our MPG bonus. We give the best driver with the best fuel economy for the quarter a brand new car. Those trucks are extremely fuel efficient. We average about 9.5 miles a gallon, while the rest of the industry averages about 6.5. Part of that big factor is driver behavioral patterns. The other part of it is they have the equipment to do that type of feat. And so last quarter, as an example, we had someone get 12.6 miles a gallon. That happened in the big Blue Beast running that very truck that you see in that ad there. Additionally, whoever has the best fuel economy for the year gets $25,000. That starts to add up after a while. We have an individual with us that's been with us about 20 years named Robert Sandoval. He's won it 5 times. So he's given himself an extra $125,000. So the big piece of how you should judge a company is not only are they friendly, are they nice, do they have good customers, but do they give me the actual equipment to do the job comfortably? That truck absolutely does that. The International LT is highly rated when you look at surveys, and they perform wonderful for us, and they're the exclusive truck of MVT.
Yeah, first of all, I know we have to get Sandoval's autograph because he's like a legend. That is very important. But just to know that you can live a healthy lifestyle, it doesn't matter. It's not about the fact of whether or not they're on the road for a few days or weeks at a time. But trucking is definitely a lifestyle, and you want to be able to mimic the same lifestyle or similar to it that you have at home. You know, that is very, very important. So to be able to be in something that gives you the room. I'm not very tall. However, my oldest son is a tall human, and he's the same height as Joseph. He's 6'5". So when it comes to accommodations for somebody that tall, is huge. So those few inches make a very big difference, a very big difference. So even if you're
I
not,
will say that it's the living part of it. The other part that I will tell you is we have a very high-end seat for the driver. One of the things is you do not want to go with the stock option for your driver's side seat. Considering the amount of time that you spend in there, we spend a pretty penny on it, but it's well worth it. We have an ergonomic seat that is made for a professional driver behind the wheel while they're there. So while you're driving, you're going to be comfortable. You're going to have a great seat. You're going to have a scientific platform, which is the in-cab communication that's easy to use with navigation included. And then when you're in the bed of the truck or in the sleeper berth, you're going to enjoy where you're at. You're going to have plenty of space, and you're going to get a full night's sleep in comfort.
that's awesome, because with back issues, sciatic nerve, and everything like that, the minute you start talking about the seat, that's good. I suffer for sciatic.
So think how many old-time drivers that you know that are hunched over because they didn't take care of their gluteus maximus while they were sitting, and it can have some consequences. So for your long-term well-being, don't go cheap. You want to find the right equipment so that you can go ahead and be safe out there on the road. And so we take a lot of pride in that truck. That commercial is a great way of seeing the equipment, but also at orientation. You get a full walkthrough of equipment with Penske, our maintenance folks. From top to bottom, we tell you, go top to bottom. If there's something on that truck you don't like or doesn't look right or doesn't feel right, talk to us, because we do not want you leaving out the door with the inferior piece of equipment.
Absolutely. Well, that is terrific. And that brings us to the close of our show. We want you safe and comfortable on the road. It is very, very important. I'm glad the eclipse was yesterday, because I will be telling everybody to make sure that they were safe on the road today with all of that, because I know as much as it was nice, a sight or light, whatever word I'm trying to say, thereof, because you couldn't see out there. It also could have been hazardous as well, but we want everybody to be safe. We'll be here next week, Tuesday, same time, 3 p.m. Central Standard Time. So we definitely want to see you guys here. Make sure you follow us wherever you're watching or listening. But also go to YouTube and follow us on that channel, and make sure you click to subscribe. So follow us on the Rig on Wheels channel so you can see the show, and click to subscribe. What do you want to say, Pierson?
Hope everybody has a great day. Be sure to grab the calendar. It's a nice treat there at the Rig on Wheels store. And we look forward to seeing our future coworkers sitting in an orientation soon, so I can shake their hand and welcome them on board with us.
Yes. All right. See you next week. Bye-bye, everybody.